2 nights ago, my son Tyler stood in my living room at 942 Elm Forge Ave, Apt 2D in Old Mill Quarter, asking me for $150,000. He called it a bridge, said investors were waiting, said I knew how cash flow crunches worked from my years running Blue Harbor metrics. He picked the worst place to ask, right under the wedding photo of me and Marianne. When I told him no, that I wouldn't mortgage the rest of my retirement to plug another hole, he went limp, then strangely calm. The next sound was the frame kissing the floor. The glass spidered out over Marianne's smile. I didn't see rage in his face, just calculation. I gathered the shards with the old microfiber cloth I keep under the sink. Tyler crouched to help, but his eyes were somewhere else. "Dad, it's just money," he said, and when I stayed quiet, he stood, brushed off his jeans, and gave me that small, cold smile I hate. What kind of father refuses his own child? I kept asking myself that as the clock thudded on the wall and my chest pulsed like it wanted out. The next morning he texted, "Dinner tonight? Naomi's cooking. I owe you an apology." Naomi, his wife, has a good heart. She lives with him now in Greenhaven, the quiet suburb toward Lake Hollis. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. The wording felt like a script, too neat, like he'd practiced it. Why did apology land like an appointment confirmation? Before I replied, I took Marianne's ring from the dish by the sink and held it against the light. I used to solve problems with spreadsheets and whiteboards. Now I keep a little box of moments that remind me who I am. I texted back, "Sure," because sometimes the only way out is through. If you've ever gone through something like this, drop a comment. I'm listening. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments section. Okay, deep breath. Let me tell you everything.
Naomi opened the door with a smile that never reached her eyes. The house in Greenhaven smelled like rosemary chicken and lemon cleaner, like someone had staged an apology. Tyler hugged me too long, clapped my back twice, and launched into a monologue about new partners and a short-term cash squeeze. He poured me sparkling water himself, unusual because he usually forgets, and kept topping it off as if hydrating me were proof of love. At the table, Naomi's hands trembled when she passed the salad. Her bracelet chimed against the dish, a small, frantic bell. She asked about my old clients at Blue Harbor Metrics, then lost her sentence halfway through and stared at the hallway as if listening for something. When I reached for the bread, I felt the slight slip of paper under the napkin, a grocery receipt with 3 words scribbled in pencil, "Not safe tonight." I looked up, and she shook her head almost imperceptibly. Was I being paranoid? Tyler cut the chicken, joked about Marianne's Sunday recipes, and kept circling back to opportunity. Every time Naomi tried to speak, he finished the thought for her. I tested my pulse under the table, steady enough. My pill case weighed my pocket like a small anchor. When I said I should get going, early morning labs at the clinic, Tyler's jaw ticked. "I'll walk you out," he said, light as air. On the porch, the night had that brittle suburb hush, just sprinklers and a dog 2 blocks over. Naomi handed me leftovers, foil warm against my palms. Her thumbs pressed into the container. "Stay aware." I pretended not to notice. Tyler leaned in, breath sweet with mint. "No hard feelings," he said. "Fresh start." I made it to the corner and felt my phone buzz. Unknown number. Don't forget to look around. The word sat on the screen like a hand on my shoulder. Who sends a message like that except someone who knows? I paused, raised my eyes, and there it was. A black sedan parked under a dead streetlight, engine purring, driver facing away, but mirrors angled toward me. I didn't go straight. I took the long way, past the pharmacy's bright windows, my reflection small and wary in the glass, scanning the dark for the shape that did not belong.
I veered off the main road like I'd forgotten something. Then another turn. Then a third. The sedan followed 2 blocks back, never rushing, never losing me. Was I overreacting? Or was I finally seeing my son without the father filter I kept polishing for him? At the next intersection, I stepped into the shadowed service lane behind a strip of closed shops, the kind with dumpsters, a dented ice machine, and a metal door propped with a brick. I ducked into the gap and killed my phone's brightness. The air smelled like motor oil and old oranges from the grocery's trash. Tires whispered up the alley mouth. A door clicked. Footsteps. 2 sets. They spoke low, unhurried. "Don't touch him," one said, voice like gravel. "He's got a bum heart. We spook him, we're done in 5. "Boss said he's stubborn," the other replied. "Payment clears when it's on the news. Unfortunate episode." There was a laugh, short, mean. "His kid says he'll fold once the will's updated anyway." I slid behind a rusty lawnmower inside a half-open storage shed. No lock, just a chain tossed aside. The tarp brushed my shoulder and set dust spinning in the phone's tiny light. My pill case pressed against my ribs. I could picture Tyler's careful smile on the porch, mint on his breath, the way he angled his body so Naomi couldn't see my face. How many little lines had I forgiven because he was my son? The men's silhouettes cut across the alley, pausing. One practiced a cough, theatrical, like he was rehearsing for a neighbor glancing out a window. "Sir, you okay? Need help?" Another laugh. "He drops, we walk." My chest knocked once, hard, but anger steadied it. I waited until their steps drifted back toward the alley mouth, then slid out and kept low along the shadowed wall to the corner. Across the street, Owen's Corner Mart buzzed under a flickering "open" sign. I crossed with my hands in my pockets to hide the shake, pushed through the bright door and felt the night peel off me. Freezers humming, register chiming, a bored clerk counting scratchers. In the light, I dialed a name I hadn't called in months. Detective Jordan Keats had given a talk at our condo board about scams last winter. Afterward, he'd scribbled his cell on my HOA newsletter and said to reach out if anything ever felt wrong. "Keats," he answered, clipped. "Gregory Ashford. I think my son just hired people to scare me to death." Saying it out loud made the floor tilt, and then it clicked steady. "Stay inside, Mr. Ashford," he said. "You're near Greenhaven? I'm routing units from the 6th Precinct now. Keep me on the line." What was I supposed to do? Pretend the sedan was a coincidence? I watched the convex mirror above the chips aisle, and for the first time that night, I let myself believe the warning had saved my life. Blue strobes washed the storefront in twitching light, while Detective Jordan Keats stayed in my ear. 2 squad cars rolled past the pharmacy and boxed the sedan at the corner. The clerk lifted his head, startled, and I gave him a little wave, like this was just weather. Minutes later, Keats walked into the mart, winded, badge clipped to his belt. "You did the right thing," he said, steadying my shaking hands with his eyes, not his touch. Sometimes kindness is distance. They brought me to the 6th Precinct to take my statement. Through a narrow window, I saw 2 men in separate rooms, one with a shaved head and knotted jaw, later Deacon Lyle, the other with a nervous foot that never stopped tapping, Victor Paredes. On the metal table in front of Keats lay their phones, a folded map of Greenhaven, and a printout of my address at 942 Elm Forge Ave. Someone had circled Old Mill Quarter in red. How long had my life been reduced to a line on paper? Keats slid over screenshots. Bank transfers from Tyler to Deacon over 3 weeks, small enough to dodge alarms, memo lines dressed up as handyman work, furnace check, gutter clean, winterize. There were deleted texts recovered from a cloud backup, first names, time windows, and the phrase, heart issue, keep it clean. My mouth went dry. What kind of son turns his father's weakness into a lever? Halfway through, a uniformed officer knocked. The wife is here. Naomi stood in the hallway under a buzzing light, with a sweatshirt thrown over her dress, hair pinned back with a tiny blue clip. She clutched a phone I didn't recognize. Old work phone, she whispered. I couldn't let it happen. She'd slipped me the receipt at dinner, then texted from the car while Tyler argued with a partner on speaker inside. Her eyes shone with guilt I didn't ask her to carry. Near dawn, Deacon flipped. He said the plan was to shadow me, wait for a sudden scare on a dark block, and call it in like strangers. He even practiced his concerned neighbor voice. Tyler was arrested at home before sunrise. He screamed that it was a misunderstanding, that he only wanted to send a message, that I'd forced his hand. Was I supposed to call that love? By mid-morning, I changed the locks, installed a door camera, met with my attorney to remove Tyler from the will, and filed for a protective order. In the quiet after, I set Marianne's ring back in its dish and picked up the broken frame. Glass gone, our faces were plain again. I breathed. I chose peace over the fiction that blood is always safe. I keep replaying the porch, the mint on Tyler's breath, Naomi's thumbs pressing into the leftover container, the dark that felt too rehearsed. There's a part of me that still wants to edit the story, make him younger, make me stricter, find a single decision that, if I'd only adjusted it, would have kept us on the gentler road. It's insidious, that need to find the version where the son I raised wouldn't plan fear around my heart like furniture around a room. But the truth is a clean thing. He asked for money, I said no. He built a plan that depended on me not looking up. In the days since, I've driven to Riverlight Walk at Lake Hollis before sunrise. The benches face the water, and the gulls heckle the morning crew of joggers and dog walkers. I sit with coffee and a little notebook and write one line each day. Clarity over comfort. Some mornings I add another. Love is not the same thing as access. When I get home, the door camera blinks its small patient light at me. It is not peace exactly, but it is a kind of vigilance that doesn't buzz my chest. Naomi called once to say she's staying with a friend for now. She didn't ask me to forgive him. I didn't ask her to pick a side. We just breathed on the line until the silence felt like a bridge, not a pit. Maybe that's what healing looks like at our age. Fewer declarations, more small, steady choices that aim us toward the honest shore. If you're listening to this and your body is whispering that something is off, don't wait for proof that satisfies everyone else. Listen. Look around. Choose the version of love that doesn't require you to shrink or doubt your own eyes. I'm still learning how, but I'm here.